Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Eric Cohn, and I'm very happy to be joined by the director, cinematographer, and writer of the film, Lorena Sparesha. Hi, thank you for being here.
Hi, hello.
And I'm very much eager to dig into the way that this film is made, but I think probably the most natural starting point is the personal relationship that you have to the subject matter. I understand that you experienced something similar to the scene in the film with a child that very nearly drowns. So can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you and how it inspired you to sort of come up with the initial idea for this film.
Yeah, so I had a moment with my kid when he was not drowning, he was choking. We had a breakfast and he started choking. And then this moment kind of passed and I managed to unchoke him, to make him breathe again. And it took maybe a half a minute. He had no nothing mm, no effect for him. He doesn't remember it. He was 2 years old, But somehow for me, this moment stayed. This kind of almost tragic event, and I keep coming back to this kind of how do you relate to something that didn't end badly, but you still feel the repercussions. So I wanted to write this film just to explore this relationship to this almost tragic event.
It's fascinating too because it's hard to know what kind of a film you're watching here until the end. And even then, there's a process of sort of putting the pieces together in your head to fully grasp how and when different things happen. So, how did you come up with this structure? What was the process like in terms of figuring out where you wanted us to start and where you wanted us to end, given that there's a lot of kind of mystery in between?
Yeah. like this film, this relationship to something that happened, it's the theme is like memories. And when I did this film, I wanted that this relationship and thinking about memories is would be interlaced into the whole structure of a film. And memories for me is this repetition, coming back and forth and repeating, and this doubling effect that you have one and the other, and then you keep coming back and it keeps changing. Like memories are very, we think of it as something stable, so something as a fact, but in the end it changes. Our relationship, it changes, and we have some facts that are actual facts, and then we have emotional facts, like how do we relate to something that happened. So this repetition and this somewhere that I wanted to go back in time and then back forward. Always knew that I wanted to do this in the film, because this is how we relate to we live. Sometimes we kind of even this post-traumatic, these memories, they have this sense of tearing gaps in our conscious relationship to time. So I wanted to have this relationship for the viewer to the film, so you're uncertain of what's going to happen, as I am uncertain sometimes with these very problematic memories that I have. They they are not settled for me. So I wanted to kind of translate this relationship to time and relationship to memory through the film to the viewer. Like the scene where we have the same dance with a different song. I wanted to give this process to the viewer. At first you see, oh, it's the same scene, but oh, it's a different song. But is it a different song? Yeah, it is a different song, but it's the same dance, so something changes, but then nothing changes. To have this whole process, because I think there's this intellectual process, but also this emotional relationship to these kind of intellectual problems that we have, and this is more stronger, and I wanted to have this kind of embedded in the whole structure of a film, this relationship to time, relationship to memory.
Yeah, and also you have so much control over everything we see, so it often feels like you're almost flipping through a scrapbook, which is not a traditional, straightforward process of experiencing memory. Part of that seems tied to your decision to be your own cinematographer. And there's such a consistency to the visual techniques throughout this film. A lot of static camera, sometimes very slow zooms or zoom outs. What was the process like for you in terms of figuring out the visual language that you needed to convey the very specific kinds of rhythms that this film gets across?
Yeah, so I wanted to decide for myself, like, what is my relationship to the film and what the perspective is that I want to give the viewer. So for me, it was important that the perspective of the film is never in like a first person. You don't experience with even like this very intense moments, like the drowning or the car crash, from the first person. It's still a bit removed, like when you're in a memory, like most of the memories I have are third person. Like I see myself in the memory, like I don't see myself in the present. I see, and but in the memory I have this kind of privilege to see it for third person. So mostly the whole film is a bit, you kind of you have this distance, this relationship to the action through this kind of different perspective, a bit drawn out. But also, like I didn't want to have a cinematographer because like a relationship with a cinematographer is also a relationship of explaining and a relationship of verbalizing emotions or verbalizing concepts. And for this, I wanted to have this opportunity to place the camera to compose shots, uh, mostly due on my intuition, like how I feel towards what's happening, how I would feel towards this happening to me, and I remembering it, just to have a space to have this non-verbal relationship towards a shot or a scene or something that the actors are doing, interacting, especially because they're kids. And I didn't want to have this one layer of explanation that you usually have with cinematographers. And also I could do it myself because I have a training as a DOP. So yeah, I wanted to kind of find always in the moment this relationship towards the scene and give this third perspective, like this perspective through time, like remembered present.
And even in spite of that, in spite of the sort of discombobulated nature of the film, that you're drifting through memories, there's something very naturalistic about it throughout, and a lot of that has to do with performances. I mean, it almost approaches voyeurism to just be sitting there and watching these people live their lives together to the point where you're sort of a spectator in a way. And that opens up a really unique challenge because your actors have to feel comfortable not performing in the scene, but just sort of living in it. It comes across that way in a lot of different moments where you have inaction and an actor's just sitting in the bed or looking at their phone, and sometimes it seems like the scene could go on forever before something new happens. So how do you fill in that kind of time and space and make your actors feel like they can just be natural in a situation like that?
For this film, like we had the script and we have the structure settled before going to shoot, but we didn't rehearse it. We based our rehearsal process like we just rehearsed the scenes with the kids, so the kids would know definitely what's happening. But with all of the adult actors, we just to give a safe space for children, just so they know everyone, every all the information. But for the adults, we basically had a month of preparation, just developing their relationship, their histories, their characters, like what are their backgrounds, what are the different relationships between different characters, what are their like professional life, personal life, like histories, and just giving them a very good foundation, a very good background, just to feel inside the characters. Like, and different characters, of course, like went into their different actors went into their characters a bit differently. Like Paulus, like Lucas, the fighter, like he spent 3 months practicing, and he went into his character very physically. Like he was present. He changed the way he moves. He changed the way he talks based on his training and the way he feels his body. And similarly, like different actors found their characters, but the most important process for me for them to have them, and then we went into the shooting, just trying to find these different situations that they kind of find themselves in after the accident or before, and just for them to feel good in their this like this bubble of like four adults and two children, and just be worried about themselves, how everyone else reacting into them, just to close this thing so I can move around and I can watch them basically, and they be not aware of me because they're aware of each other. We have this background. They don't have like the script, like what to do in every scene, but more we have this whole idea of what they are and how they would react in different situations. Like we have like a set of rules and not just one script. We have this process, and every time we change something, they find themselves what they're doing in that moment. So that was, we had a lot of scenes where they do some stuff around the house and they know what this character would do in the situation, like the especially the scene where they are cleaning the house. Like this is like totally improvised, but we find what they're each doing based on their characters. Like one is cleaning, one is like just playing with the kids, because he has no other skills. So he's like, yeah.
I wonder
So
what sort of foundation you have as a filmmaker for this type of storytelling. There's such a consistency between your first film, Pilgrims, and this one, and not only in terms of sort of a, I don't want to call it experimental, but a narrative structure that has a lot of questions associated with it, and almost like a puzzle-like element in a way, and then also just the sort of the the sense of kind of contending with a dark world and learning how to sort of find your own way through it. What are you drawing on as a filmmaker in telling stories like this?
for every film, I tried to find like something in the film that could affect its structure. Like if it's like in Pilgrims, it was about like this psychic geography, like this emotional landscape. What there are things that you feel about a place that you cannot see in the place, and I tried to kind of incorporate that in the structure of a film. But with this film, also like with the memories, so I kind of always tried to think of the film as a way to explore how I kind of conceptualize the world in my mind. Like a film is a perfect way of like giving your not even your view of the world, but your kind of process of thinking about the world. Like because that's why it's a good because a film has we can kind of reduce it back to words, but basically it becomes something different, like and it has this ability to construct emotional reactions or kind of these moments of clarity in the viewer that are kind of then again are difficult to go back to words, and that's why it very much interests me to work with the structure and to work with different ways that we present fact and get emotion, like and how this all relates, facts, images, texts, and emotions to ourselves in a ways that we are not sometimes not prepared to receive. And when we discover some different moments and different kind of relationship to something that is neither tragic nor funny, neither sad nor kind of I don't know, uneasy. Like for in this film, like this one scene was where the kid touches the guy and says like your father is inside. Like, and then I was writing the film, and it was kind of was so strange, but also like something that you can only have like when you have a lot of information and you can see the moment and you can see the awkwardness, but also you can go but you can also see some kind of warmth, but also a huge stupidity in relationship towards like a human body, but also some form of this continuity that it's very perverse, but also very kind of there's some hope in it, you know. So yeah, so film gives a chance to mix it all together and then to have a viewer as a recipient of it, you know, like there's no film without the viewer, especially like this kind of film, you know. It's so I very much appreciate that, and I will always look forward to hearing how people feel after a film.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I mean, there is one sort of simplistic reaction to a film like this that says it's very sort of bleak and depressing and you know hard for people to watch because of those things because they don't want to feel those things. But I would assume that you don't see it that way. So I'm curious how you see the film and how you hope audiences experience it given that sort of surface level expectation.
I feel bleak and depressed. It's quite reductive, you know, like it's only part of the whole picture. I think it's I just went to give like I read this book and it was called like Archive of Feelings, and I felt like it was a very kind of good relationship to what I think that cinema could be, like different ways of reacting to the world. Like there's no, you know, like when we think of it as very simplistically like happy or sad, and then yeah, it's a sad film maybe, but if you open up it a bit, then you can have this different relationship to the world, but you don't have to have this feeling translated directly into you. You can experience it not kind of um, it's not that it takes something away from the viewer, but I think it's something that you can get some insights into uh, kind of different ways of reacting to the world. And it's like it's opening, it's like a discovery. Like I don't feel that it is a given that you will feel like this after a film, because this film for me, like I feel a kind of hope in the trash bag. You know, you have a trash bag and you can throw everything away and then you live again. You know, it's there is hope for me, but it's a different kind of hope, and it's a more realistic hope when you can. There's no like there's a blank page hope, which is I think unrealistically because you still have this future, but also there's a garbage can hope, but you can throw it away and then you can live somewhere else. It's still bad. The thing is still broken. You just deal with it, you know, something like this.
Garbage can hope. And as a life philosophy, it's inspirational in ways that I feel like only cinema can be. Where does this leave you as
Yeah.
a filmmaker? Do you have another project that you're working on? Is there anything about this film that kind of has set you up for where you're heading?
I'm working now with something that we're dealing like now on the ground. Like I'm dealing with, like, you know, we live in Lithuania and there's a war right besides here, so in Ukraine, and I'm dealing with all the relationship that we have towards it. You know, like as Lithuanians, we're not experiencing it right now, but we are experiencing it through the lives of others and through our closeness and proximity. So I kind of I'm working on a project that's connected to that. And I'm producing a Ukrainian film, so I'm working directly like with someone who's wants to make film there. So yeah, I'm working through that because like you know things come up and there are some important things that sometimes are more important than like some maybe creative challenges. But yeah, I'm also editing in a film that I didn't like write or direct. But yeah.
Lots of good things on the horizon. It sounds like more garbage can hope. Thank you very much for having this conversation, and congratulations again on the film. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this talk.